Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Umlink Energy Speaks Back, powered by B2B Energy. My name is Paul Webb. I'm the founder of B2B Energy, and I'm your host. And weekly, I present to you energy experts from around the world. Welcome to episode 101. We are back in the UK, where we are discussing a game-changing initiative within the solar industry. Our purpose, as always, is to provide a good understanding of energy management knowledge from around the world, which is available today for us to deliver savings that impact on our planet. On our journey of knowledge sharing, we would like to thank our sponsors, and they are Umlink, who are taking the confusion out of energy management, Clean Energy Revolution for their knowledge and networking through LinkedIn, B2B Energy for the 11-week energy program, Lexus Energy for the power management, led by Vision, who are an LED and a controls company, Watts for the electronics and EV transition, Carbon Black Global for their waste to energy initiatives, and Cinefex for their insulation coating, Smart Cool for their AC initiatives. And lastly, our certificate partners, Ester Energy. Today's special guest is the CEO of a world-class team that are bringing us thin solar film with leading technology initiatives within the solar industry. So without any further ado, I give you Joe Parker Swift. Good afternoon, Joe. And how are you today?
I'm very well, Paul. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. And where you're sitting looks beautiful in the background. Is it nice weather there?
It is a very sunny day in Kent today. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. I'm always jealous because I've got a little window and it's looking over the road and it always looks cloudy or gloomy. It's not until I go out I realize the sun's been out all day. So I'm in this little study with my little studio. So don't get a chance to get out much. And I've talked to people all around the world as well, and it's quite frustrating.
I commandeered this during the pandemic and I'm not giving it back.
Right. So, Joe, bizarrely, we've met, and I don't really meet many of the people I interview, which is quite amazing. And we've met a couple of times, and you've done some presentations for us. And I'm very excited to probably touch on what's behind me today, in to understand where we are with that as a technology. So, for the benefit of our audience today, can you give us some background to Joe and her origin story?
Yeah, so I am, I suppose, what some people call an entrepreneur because I'm on my third startup. I founded two businesses before, and the one I'm running now is Solivus, and we are very focused on lightweight solar energy, energy innovation, and finding new applications and creating new products out of this amazing new generation solar tech that's coming onto the market.
Those two other companies, were they green?
Oh, completely different. No, completely different. So I started my career in pharmaceuticals. Years ago, I worked for AstraZeneca. And then from that, they gave us this amazing management training and all spent a lot of money on training us up with all sorts of skills. But I was working with the doctors at the time, realized they didn't have any of this training. So I started a management training consultancy for the medical profession, and employed lots of people running around the country doing that. And then the second one was a software company. So it was a branch of the first one, looking at creating quality in the healthcare sector with this sort of software platform, which I sold to a FTSE 250 company, and we got into 75% of hospital trusts with that.
Right.
But I did my university degree was environmental science, and that's why I was sort of passionate about that sort of side of things. And I just wanted to do something completely different and break into a different market, and do something bigger, and just to sort of should probably regret it, test myself, like, well, I've done those two and they worked, what else can I do? And I was just looking for the next best thing, and then this came across my path, as it were.
And obviously you mentioned the environmental sort of studying in university and things. Is that what's led you into the renewables?
Uh, I'd like to say yes, but actually, it's quite an interesting story, really, because it was back in 2016, and it was all of the time of all the Brexit stuff, and I was on a train with talking to a couple of random strangers about Brexit. We were chatting all about that. And then they both happened to mention they didn't know each other either. They were both very senior in big energy companies.
Right.
And the conversation just went on. I was just very interested to listen to them. And they both agreed that we were going to be heading towards an energy crisis. And they talked about, nuclear power stations being commissioned and how we're going to be using more and more energy. We're heading towards blackouts. And they were being it was a very frank conversation between these two gentlemen, which absolutely terrified me.
Right.
And I went home that day thinking, crikey, we need to secure our energy supply at home here. What experience they're talking about. And so I sort of went on this quest for my own home. That's where it started. And we have a Kent tile cottage. I didn't want to put solar panels on the roof.
Right.
So that's when I thought, oh, there's probably other people like me that want this, but they don't want to put solar panels on their property either.
Exactly.
Because of the aesthetics. So where do I go from here? So that's when I've quite a science-based brain, so I started researching and looking into technology out there. I'd looked into the garden and seen a tree out there, and I went out, counted the leaves, measured the surface area of a leaf, and counted them all up, and realised that wow, you can get much greater energy in a small space if you're like a tree than if you're just lying something in one dimension flat. So yeah, I started researching initially, can I make a solar tree? And talked myself into the National Graphene Institute, which they were so good to me and let me keep going visiting, talking to all their very clever folk up there. And they helped me with research papers and looking into things. And they introduced me to OPV and Heliotech. And they also introduced me to Cambridge Design Partnership, which are very clever engineers over in Cambridge. And putting those two sort of sets of brains together and sort of steering people, I realized there was an idea with this three-dimensional shape. And then, writing business plans, talking to lots of people, many, many, many people, before getting first investors to think, right, let's create something here that other people like myself will want. A design-led solar product, something at the time, which was a premium product, which would be more expensive than buying energy from the grid. But I remember at that time, my head was in the space of energy security.
Yeah.
So the fact it is more expensive, but it's not the grid. It's my energy.
Yeah.
And it's super clean because the image behind you, the Solivus Arc, is made of this OPV by Heliotech. And
you just show that.
It's very quite inspirational, really, because such a low carbon footprint to make it. Conventional solar, you've got to use it for a number of years before it will pay back the carbon in the lifetime of the product to make it, and all the rare earth materials that go in it. If you take all that into account, it takes years to pay back the carbon footprint of creating.
Exactly.
Whereas this OPV, it's weeks, it's 12 weeks. They've done a lot of studies into this and all sorts of global awards for it. And it's easy to dispose of it at the end of its life. In fact, the Heliotech company take it back and dispose of it because it's so easy to do so.
What's the life cycle of it?
It's 20 years warranty at the moment.
Right.
Which is great because I think this was going to be a thing back in 2008, but OPV didn't really take off because it had a short life cycle at that time. But they've now cracked that problem and resolved that, and it now has warranty. And we've been testing this for a number of years, and the degradation on it is very good. And they have in their warranty 1% each year over the 20 years, which is in line with industry standards. But actually, what we're seeing is actually a bit better than that. So it's an exceptionally good product. And what I love about it is there's no rare earth materials in it. There's nothing toxic in it. So when you're driving the kids to school, it makes you feel good because most cars charged with something is the cleanest energy that I could possibly have in my garden. It's made of ingredients, carbons that are all around us. You don't have to deep mine for all the stuff that's in it, and no rare earth materials. And actually, there's been a few podcasts lately on this fight for rare earth materials with everything going into renewables.
Right.
But this Solivus Arc won't have that problem because of what it's made of with this OPV, and people aren't getting that yet. They will, because it will be the thing of the future, because it's truly sustainable. It's not going to run out.
We are seeing a lot of graphics regarding like the graveyards of all the windmill turbines and solar panels. We are seeing that cartoon, and we're getting a lot of. We're in the clean energy revolution. We get a lot of people bringing this subject up. So it's on people's radars regarding the sustainability on how we make this technology and how we dispose of it. Yes,
and that was one of the things I'd been looking at as well. I mean, on the rooftop side of the business, which I'm sure we'll come to, we are using other products as well. So I think we will need everything to solve this climate crisis. But I'm a real champion for Heliotech and the OPV because that issue will not arise. It's very easy to dispose of this. At the moment, they're using a closed carbon capture incineration process. So you can't just burn up conventional solar. But this one, you can put in this special incinerator, and the components that are left at the end are just recycled into the next production line.
Right.
You can fully actually take it to bits and recycle it, but it's expensive to do that at the moment. And the incineration process is a low carbon way of resolving it. And indeed, that process itself creates more energy at the end of its life. It goes on to generate more energy through that process itself. So
presumably they've got a generator on they generate steam and turbine and
exactly. They create energy from that, and they capture the carbon that's coming out of that process. So
brilliant.
Super clean at the end of its life.
It's quite funny because now you're talking, and obviously I've seen your technologies. I didn't think it started here. I thought it started on the roof technologies.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting.
No, this was first, and this is still my baby.
Right.
And, I can't wait to launch this. I'm going to get all the celebrities using it. It's going to be the Tesla of the solar industry. Just wait for it.
Out of interest, this particular picture behind me, is that in your garden now? Is that the one do you actually use it?
That isn't in my garden now because it's at our research facility, and the shape of it has changed very slightly, and that will be revealed in the next coming weeks. So it's been messed about. It doesn't look quite so pretty at the moment because it's been messed about, but it's tied up.
I actually think it looks beautiful. I love it. And if I had a big commercial building, I'd love one of those outside the front with all the cars.
Well, it's funny you should say that because we have had, obviously we're doing our commercial rooftop business as well. And often those companies say, oh, we'd really like a couple of those Solivus Arcs out of our front office. So it shows you can't see the other stuff on the roof. That shows we're supporting innovation and everything. So you're not the first person to say that.
Yeah. So tell me about the transition then from doing these to do the roof, because obviously I think you're a disruptor of the industry regarding what you've got there.
Yeah, well, this will be, and the more powerful it gets, it's going to create more and more energy in a small space. But regarding the roof, so I was working on this lightweight solar because it's 10 times lighter than conventional solar. That fabric, it's like a wallpaper. And I was driving over the Dartford Bridge one day, and I was looking at all the warehouses either side of the Dartford crossing.
Hmm.
Why? I don't get it. What, we've got this energy security thing. All these business people, they must know this is coming. Why have they not got solar? So I just started asking some people that were involved in asset management, and they said, oh, it's because of the weight. All those big buildings, they can't take the weight of conventional solar. And there I was sitting there with this practically piece of paper, feather-like stuff, thinking, crikey, this is a massive opportunity. And it's very difficult as an entrepreneur to be presented something like that.
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
not get distracted by it. So I had to explore that, and just realized there's a huge opportunity there. But
What's the rough difference between the weight between conventional and your systems?
10 times, so that's 18 kilograms per meter squared, whereas ours is only about 1 or 2 grams, I think.
And
Yeah,
that's significant, isn't it?
it's 10 times lighter. Yes, it's game changer. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been putting it on the likes of football stadiums, haven't you? Rugby stadiums, etc. To because they're quite light roofs as
Yeah.
such.
So our target market are buildings like stadiums, where
Hmm.
it's any building where you can't have extra supportive pillars inside. So aircraft hangars is another example, sports stadiums, data centers. We seem to be getting a lot of interest from data centers. Recycling plants is another one. I've yet to go to one of those, but we've got one on our books. We had another one call this week. So it's these sorts of structures, very lightweight structures, where there's lots going on underneath, and they want as much space as possible underneath, without having to put lots of supportive pillars.
Mm. So,
Yeah, so big structures.
what's your view on these larger organisations now being able to take advantage of solar?
On the larger organizations, I would say don't be left behind, because I'm talking to a lot of the really big cheeses, and you can see the ones that are on their plans and what they're doing, and they're going to be so much. The cost is lower. They're securing their energy for their facilities. They're decarbonizing the buildings. The government is, trying to, well, rightly force people into doing this, because then the country hits our carbon targets. But it makes financial sense and business sense to do it. Energy security, lower your cost, and decarbonize your building so that you can carry on renting it out and you haven't got a stranded asset. And we have financial, vehicles whereby people can enjoy zero upfront capex and pay for their energy, have the same relationship with their energy as they have been doing for many years, like paying for it, monthly or annually over a number of years or whatever. So, it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. And you can see the people that are taking advantage of it and what they're planning to do. So, yeah, I would say be careful not to be left behind.
And do you think there's challenges when you're speaking to these people? What are their challenges? What's going on in their minds?
I think this is all completely new. We do, as a company, try and keep it as straightforward as possible,
Yeah.
and we're kind of one-stop shop, really. So we're really help, rather than having to go to designers, go to finance people, go to engineering installs. We're helping them with everything, and not trying to overwhelm people. So to look at the demand in the building first, scale back to the demand, just only doing an installation for that, and then gradually through phases, like, okay, if you've got a fleet going to this building, that's going to have to go over to EVs at some point. So then you'll be able to do a bigger installation and electrify your fleet. That's going to save you a fortune. You're powering it from your building. So it's just gradually trying to. These people are not in the energy business, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's one of the biggest barriers. They're thinking, I'm not an energy supplier. I don't want to be an energy supplier. But these roofs are so big. Some of them are 10 megawatts. That's a solar farm.
Yeah.
They could, in time they will be able to feed that back into the grid and make decent money out of it and trade it to the building next door. And it's not possible yet because of the regulations, but in the future they will be able to do that with that asset. So it's probably a whole new industry of people that are managing the roofs for those people, because they do become energy suppliers, which they don't, they're like, I'm not in that business. I don't want to be an energy supplier. I just want to help us as a business. How can we lower our costs? But
Yeah.
it can get a little bit overwhelming because of the opportunity they have with their asset roof. I would say it's just,
Yeah.
getting their heads around it all and moving forward in a way that works for them, that's not too scary, I suppose.
And what's your challenges personally as an entrepreneur in this industry?
Crikey. Where do I start at the moment? It's trying to scale fast enough. We're not having a problem attracting people. We're attracting fantastic people, and I've got
Good.
brilliant team, and they're great fun to work with, super exciting, etc., etc. That side of things fine. It's just scaling fast enough with the demand that's there, and managing that with the cash flow and the investment we need, and scaling in a way. But I've actually signing up with a coach to help me, who's done this sort of thing before.
Right.
Because though I've grown two businesses before, this is going to turn into such a massively bigger thing than I've done before, and I need to be able to bounce off somebody and uh, and help me with that scale. This is scale. It's a challenge of
Exactly.
scaling fast enough and not running out of money while we're doing that, I would say.
And there are investors. You're talking to investors, and I know you've got a really strong board as well working with
Yeah.
you.
Yes, I mean it's very important, isn't it, to get I've got a great board, and Nick Cariadis is a fantastic finance director who's got experience. He worked for NG before. He's got experience in that sector. And Matt Black, our COO, and he's going to be changing in that role slightly actually, but he's the chairman of the UK Solar Energy UK, I should say. So he's had decade of working in the solar space and building lots of solar farms. And Jolene's been working with me in all my businesses, so I trust her to get things organised and keep things ship shape. So yeah, we've got a really really great team. And Rob Thomas, our head of growth, has come this year and breath of fresh air into driving the sales forward through our sales force. So the pipeline of opportunities we've got is absolutely massive. So one
Yeah.
of them, that recycling plant, for example, I think that is 10 megawatts, that one.
Right.
Um,
Just on its own.
so we've yet to get that one yet, but it's a
Yeah.
council considering it, so it's all going through their processes. But
And do you only do the film technology? Is that all you're focusing on, or do you do the other systems as well?
we do a combination with conventional solar, because sometimes clients have a combination roof, so they might have one
Mm.
roof that can't take the weight of conventional solar and one that can. And because financially that makes better sense to do that,
Yeah.
although we are getting pretty slick at our install processes now with the lightweight stuff, so it's getting pretty comparable. But we can do both. We can do both on for a client.
Yeah. And then we talk roof, but can we put this on the south facing wall? Can it go flat down a wall?
Yes, it can. But we're not. It's only roofs to focus on. That we're not doing that.
Right.
It will generate more on a roof, so
Yeah.
it's easier sell with the money. It's easier for people to save money if it's on a roof. So we have had quite a lot of interest from stadiums and whatnot that want to put it on the side of the building. I did come across another product this year that I'd like to look into further, which enables you to have logos. You
Right.
can any color or any logo design you want over the top of the solar,
That's
and it's
interesting.
quite powerful. You can have that on a facade, so you're really showing the world, look, we're going green, and here's our logo in solar. So that when we've got more time and then we're on the next phase, we might
Yeah,
look to
because a
bring.
lot of the companies around the airports, they like to put their name, they spray their name on the top, don't
Yeah,
they, for advertising.
indeed, yeah. So I think, oh, well, I think that's where we were researching into it because some of the stadiums want logos on top because when they got matches or things going on, sometimes they have a helicopter going over
Yeah.
the top. So they're keen to have the logo. So that's why I started researching into it. But it does work on facades as well. So, but that's why we're not doing that now. But it's in the roadmap.
There's so many, when you've got this, this is the beauty of being an entrepreneur, really. All these different opportunities come up, putting it on the face, putting it. I'm glad to hear that you're not focusing on that and keeping it to the roofs. But there are other areas where I think we've spoken before about glazing, where we've got conservatories and things like that, where they would like to put this type of solar on the roof as long as the sun can shine through it.
Yeah, I did. Uh, what do you call it? The polytunnels where they grow tomatoes and all of that.
Right.
I had that on my radar at one point, which is sort of similar, isn't it? Because a lot of those are made of glass, and did some research into that. And actually, you can cover about 35 to 40% of one of those in strips across it, and the plants inside grow more.
Really?
Weirdly,
Wow.
yeah, that they like a bit of shade as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So
So it's just the temperature, isn't it, that they really need?
yeah, so I found out there was like 14,000 acres of polytunnels in southern Spain.
Wow.
I was going for that, but then my conscience got me because I didn't like the way they were treating the workers out there, and I just felt a bit uncomfortable about getting involved with it. So I thought, well, there's loads of other roofs to go for. Let's just stick with
Yeah.
the roof. Come back to that another time. I don't know if that was the right decision or not, but yeah.
So
There's we get contacted every day. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Can you do this for us? Can you do so you just have to pick out the ones that are going to be most beneficial for us and the planet as well.
yeah.
And there's one that's really interesting, which I don't think I've told you about actually. It's come about in the last few weeks. I'm super excited about it. Is Balfour Beatty.
Right.
So they're building a big section of HS2 at the moment, and they invited us in because they're wanting to decarbonize their construction processes, and they have, I think it's like 1,000 portable cabins in the UK that they use to build motorways and
Mm.
all, and they're currently run off grid on diesel generators. So they're wanting to decarbonize as much as possible so that they can win these. I think they have to win these government contracts. It
Yeah.
also saves them money, energy security. It's just the right thing to do, and they're really passionate about it. So we've got a pilot starting next week with one of their porta cabins, putting our lightweight solar on the top, linking it in with a battery. That also does still connect to a diesel generator, but it massively reduces the amount of diesel that they need. So saving them a lot of money, and decarbonising their construction processes. So
Yeah.
that's a whole new market for us that we're super excited about. And it's actually much more straightforward because you don't have all the grid connection issues,
Exactly.
but roof structural things. So it's yeah, so that's
And they could
yeah, that's
probably be made, they can be made and fabricated in a workshop somewhere, can't they? Rather than on site.
so where we're doing the pilot is actually in their factory where they
Right.
make their portable cabins. So it's
Right.
actually being installed on site before it even goes outside.
Yeah.
But there is a nuance to what we're doing. I've made it sound very simple, but there is a sort of a nuance to what we're doing for them, which makes it possible to keep moving the cabins around. So I can't share that with you because that's like top secret. But
That is always you. Oh, I can't tell you the name at the moment. Maybe a couple of weeks, and then I'll ring you again, and you still can't tell me anything. There's so many secrets. I'm waiting for you to tell me. Um, so, I'm going to bring us down to a level here. I don't know if you know, but we've only got about less than 100 days left to the end of the year. I know it's bizarre where this year's gone. So tell us about the future of Solvius. What's happening in the future? Have you got future plans? You got goals to the end of the year? Goals after that?
well, for this year, I would like to see a Solivus Arc certainly in the final design, which we've now, bottomed out. One here, one on the Heliotech factory in Germany. One, I haven't approached him yet. So if
He
you're
doesn't know
listening,
it.
if you're listening, Masdar City, I'm going to be contacting you and trying to get one Masdar City. and,
Love it. I love it.
and one in California as well, because
Right.
that's going to be the Middle East and California are going to be our target markets for the Solivus Arc. I visited the Middle East for the first time this year actually, and I could tell they were really excited by it. So I think there's going to be a market there, and in California as well, where they're embracing innovation in this sector. And so it's to get those units set up, trialed, and then hit go. Because we've got some hundreds of people waiting for these things, and I really want to honour the fact that they've supported us and hit go on the factories so that they can get those as soon as possible in the new year. So
Yeah.
that's on the Solivus Arc side. And on the rooftop side, it's just getting through the clients, just going through the buildings that we're looking at and looking after those clients. And then in the future, we will be trying to plan how we scale internationally. It's one of the reasons I've got this coach, because he's done that before with the company that he's run before. So thinking about how we have Solivus employees in different geographical locations, taking advantage of the local community to help us with installations.
Brilliant. That sounds really exciting. And you told us about it. You told us about it. I was expecting you to say, no, I can't tell you about that until next week.
No, there we go.
So, Joe, it's come to that time in the interview where I like to put my interviewee on the spot.
No, might ask you to edit it out, whatever I answer.
So is there anything that you can give back to our audience today as a takeaway for them?
As a takeaway, I think it comes back to that don't be left behind comment that I said earlier. For businesses that are listening, just be brave and don't be left behind, because I can see what some of the really big companies are doing to secure their energy supply, to secure stock energy supply, lower their prices, and dominate. And so keep up and don't be left behind is my only take home, I would say.
Yeah. And that's quite key, really, even in today. If we look at these projects, if you looked at a project you put together 2 years ago, what does that look like now? What was you basing them pricing? You was pricing on 28 pence, and now it's 38 pence, 48 pence, and even more.
So we were, that was a problem for us a year ago. We were sort of, competing against grid energy prices. And that was proving challenging, but now we're knock it out of the park with pricing.
Yeah.
That's our actually weirdly that's our competition is grid, not conventional solar, because remember we're focusing on the build can't take conventional solar.
Yeah.
So we're competing against grid prices. So our products sort of range between 10 pence and 18 pence per kilowatt hour on a roof. When we started the business, grid prices were about sort of 15, 16 pence. So that was why it was challenging. But now they're 65 pence. So I think last week somebody was £1. Like, what? How are these companies surviving? So one recycling plant this week, they had annual bills of 300,000, but their energy is now £1 million a year costing them.
Yeah.
So, we're going to be able to really help with that.
Yeah. And, the industry needs people like yourself to come along and just give that difference and them opportunities. And I know it's spend to save, but if you've got a financial package in place, then there's lots of benefits around.
Well, saving day one.
Yeah. Immediate payback, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Helps with the cash flow immediately.
So, Joe, it's been really great catching up. And do you know what? I'm going to share this with you. You've told me more than what you normally do on the phone. I'm quite amazed. You've mentioned customer names. You mentioned projects. I'm going to write all these down.
Well, if big customers like that, and our supplier, I know I've mentioned as well, but if people are supporting Solivus, I'm going to support them as well.
Yeah. Well, it's been brilliant catching up. Thank you very much for sharing your story. So we're going to invite you back soon to do a revisited, probably in about 6 months' time. So we'd really like to know where the industry's gone and where you're going.
See how things have moved on, because it
Yeah.
was all happening very
And
fast.
I'm really looking forward to see this shape changing. So I love it as it is, but I'm sure it's going to look even better.
Yeah, it looks cool. Yeah, it looks great. That will be revealed soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So, Joe, you and your family, please stay safe in these times.
And you, Paul. Thanks very much.